We're now looking at DPI as a shared infrastructure for regional integration. So, the panel that will join me shortly will explore how DPI is being leveraged as shared infrastructure to drive regional and economic integration in Latin America and Africa. I'm inviting Mr. Robert Karanja to join me up here. He is one of our panelists. Our moderator is actually Miss Aura Cifuentes, and she is a member of the investments team of Co-Develop. And she brings a dynamic blend of expertise in digital government, public innovation, and data-based public policy to Co-Develop. She has a public sector experience, having worked in France and Colombia for 8 years. And she's done a lot more. And you can find this information once again on the website. So please make Miss Cifuentes welcome. And joining her is Mr. Juan Pablo Garcia. And he has more than 20 years of experience in the IT industry in several Latin American countries. He began in software development, then moved into project and portfolio management, and for the past few years, he specialized in information security. Please make him welcome. So, on our panel, we have Mr. Robert Karanja, Mr. Juan Pablo Garcia, and we also have Miss Aura Cifuentes.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I'm super excited about this panel. My name is Aura Cifuentes. I work at Co-Develop, leading the Latin American and the Caribbean strategy. And in this panel, we'll have two representatives from Africa and two from Latin America and the Caribbean. I think that this panel is wrapping up some sessions, and I do expect that we can connect some of the dots. And it's like actually a good starting for the workshops we're having this afternoon. So I just want to say that at Co-Develop, we've been engaging with some regional players that are quite particular and quite interesting in terms of trying to promote some regional use cases. One is the African Continental Free Trade Area, AFCFTA, and we're going to learn more about that organization and the projects they're trying to promote. And the other one is in Latin America and the Caribbean, the Inter-American Network on Digital Government, what we call in Spanish, Red GEALC. So we're going to learn from both institutions. We're going to showcase what they're doing. So I need to have your patience because we're going to present a video, we're going to have some presentations and a live demo. So bear with us. I just want to share some quick data and some facts that I think might be relevant for the whole context of this conversation. So if we look at the broader picture, in Africa, we have 54 countries and over 1.4 billion people. In Latin America and the Caribbean, we have 33 countries with, of course, extended territories and 660 million people. So if we're talking about cross-border authentication or cross-border use cases, I would love to ask a question to the audience. Who do you think is the country in Africa that shares borders with the most neighbors? Yes? Who said DR? It's DRC. Yeah, exactly. Democratic Republic of the Congo with 9 land borders. Who do you think is a country in Latin America and the Caribbean? Brazil. With how many borders? Land borders. How many? 6. 10. So I think this is just, a fun fact question, but it's more about regional integration. It's not just, a policy ambition, but it's a geographic reality. And some of the reasons that we've been trying to highlight at Co-Develop and why, and this is actually some of the reasons or why are we talking to those institutions is one, because we're always talking about scalability, right? How do we scale up those pilots, those country specific use cases? And actually someone yesterday asked the big question is how? How do we integrate? How do we collaborate? And we're like doing this, we're of course like learning by doing. We can we can see, we can kind of like uncover what's missing in terms of regulation, in terms of governance, in terms of political will. So doing those regional use cases, it's actually very important for the DPI ecosystem in terms of like the lessons that we can learn, and of course like the gaps that we can bridge. Second is those regional use cases are actually pretty real and urgent. We've been seeing with many conversations that we've been having with countries that there are like actually some procedures, some use cases that they've been seeing are quite critical in terms of trade, in terms of migration, in terms of tax administration. So we've been trying to map out what are those procedures, digital services that could be helpful for those countries um, in both regions. And of course, in this particular reason, small and medium enterprises are actually the ones that could be benefit from those procedures and interoperability projects. The three reason is migration and mobility. We've been seeing flows of humans in both regions. And I think this is actually quite interesting if you have like the inclusion and safety lanes, because we know that in the borders, we have communities that are underserved. Sometimes they are left behind. We have indigenous communities that could benefit from those type of projects. We also have refugees, we have migrants. And if we're like talking about digital ID, working with those minorities, with those communities, is actually quite important for us. And the fourth one, and I don't want to enter in the political arena, but still, it's important. One of the reasons that we find out it's a big one, a bigger one, and it's important. It's sovereignty, right? Like sometimes we wake up and we have new tariffs, and the world has changed, and we have some dependencies. So trying to promote regional integration and trying to understand what do we need for that in terms of integration, alignment, and government, it's also something that is quite interesting. So let's start with a presentation that we have from Tokmur Chidere from AFCFTA. He's going to present very high level presentation, and this is why we have our African director from co-develop, Robin Karanja, and we're going just after the video to kind of like go deep into what is that project, and then we're going to explain what is Red Helix doing and what is the pilot that we want to showcase. So could you please help me with the video?
Hello, everyone. My name is Tokmo Chidede. I'm a senior digital trade expert at the African Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat, which is an organ of the African Union in Africa, comprising of 55 countries of the African Union. The work that we are doing in the African Continental Free Trade Area is to create a single continental market of 1.4 billion and 3.5 trillion US dollars. And the main objective of this single market is to boost intra-Africa trade, which is currently low. And statistics predict that it ranges between 15 to 18%. The continental free trade area, the African continental free trade area, has a comprehensive legal framework which covers trade in goods, trade in services, investment, intellectual property right, competition policy, women and youth in trade, as well as the digital trade protocol. So these are the legal instruments. As you can see, it's a comprehensive trade agreement, a 21st century free trade arrangement, which is not only focusing on trade in goods, but also focuses on other complementary legal frameworks that support the trade of goods and services. Today, I just want to talk to you about the work that we're doing in digital trade, the work that I do on a day-to-day basis. Recently, we have concluded the protocol on digital trade, which is a comprehensive legal framework aimed at facilitating seamless digital trade transactions across the continent. It covers issues related to market access, it covers business and consumer trust, data governance, emerging and advanced technology. Within this protocol, there are legal commitments that the African countries have undertaken in relation to digital public infrastructure. Why focusing on digital public infrastructure in a trade agreement? Because this agreement is not only to facilitate the movement of goods and services, but it is mainly to promote the development of the continent. And hence the importance of digital public infrastructure, making sure that the payments are easier, making sure that the data is being exchanged, of course, in a safe and secure manner. Also making sure that digital identities are being used to for public goods, for public purposes, as well as doing digital transactions across the border. So this is the work that we've done, and right now we are done with the negotiations, and we are moving towards implementation. And there is a huge appetite within the African continent. You can imagine a youthful population, which is 60% of the African citizens are below the age of 35, and we see an opportunity here from a digital trade perspective or digital economy perspective. Africa has this untapped digital economy, and this is the opportunity that the continent has to leapfrog all the industrial revolution that the industrial revolutions that the continent has missed. And we see an opportunity here with deploying digital technologies to facilitate trade, to deploy digital technologies to promote development. The sense of digital public infrastructure is to put the citizens at the center of any economic activities. And this is the work that we are doing, and we are so excited. And we have the full support of all the 55 heads of state and government, and all this work to put together the legal framework, which lays the foundation, was done with the support of the heads of state, which they gave us the mandate, and we managed to complete this within a period of 18 months. And you can see this has never been done anywhere else. Of course, you can see bits and pieces of only mercantile focused the trade agreements, but the protocol on digital trade has this development dimension to it, because in the continent we have different countries, or we have countries who are at different levels of development, countries with different legal systems, countries with at different levels in terms of digital readiness. But because we have managed to create a balanced regime whereby those who are quite advanced can also help and take the hands of those who are not developed, that's how we have managed to get everyone on board. And we are so excited in the work that we are doing. And we hope this can be a best practice that we can also share with other regions or other continents that are willing to travel the same road as Africa. And this is an opportunity for the continent to also change the narrative. Africa has always been at the bottom of the value chain. Africa has always been a consumer in so many aspects when it comes to economic activities. But right now, we are also at the forefront of norm setting, and we are so excited. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Shidere. I'll talk more. Do you have anything to compliment Robert on what he mentioned, not only about like the organization, the structure, but also the project? I think that in your presentation you mentioned DigiPass at some point, but I think that for the audience it would be great to have more details about that project.
Okay. Thank you, Aura. Maybe I should have warned you before the video that Tokmo has a PhD in law, trade law. So he's spoken a lot of legalese. I think maybe we've been working closely with the Secretariat in Accra to not only help them actualize some of the elements of the digital trade protocol, but I did briefly speak about the DigiPass, which we are seeing as a fast track document to facilitate the movement of people, goods, and services across borders without necessarily calling it a digital ID. It's interesting because initially the Secretariat wanted to call it an ID. But when they had conversations with a few countries, Nigeria, I think Ghana, a couple of other countries, the governments were not keen on using the word ID because they thought it was a new ID over and above what they were already issuing within the country. So we said then consider it a DigiPass. layer it on existing ID, and then you're not necessarily touching on the sovereignty issues that the governments were sensitive about. So there's something that Tokmo, I think it was you, Aura, who said that, the more I think about it, and I've been looking at the impact of some of the tariffs, right? Now that we're in a tariff era, this could actually be potentially that wake-up call that will promote intercontinental trade, right? South Africa may have goods and services that we need. Kenya may have goods and services that they may need. Uganda, Ghana, Somalia, people can start trading more among one another and within a free trade agreement. And so then the tariffs become the incentive that actually pushed that free trade agreement to even grow further. So I think this is an interesting opportunity for that. Something else that Talkmore may have mentioned, but I'll just add, is that if the AFCFTA is implemented fully by 2035, they are expecting inter-Africa trade to increase to $450 billion, which would be a big boost. And then on top of that, lifting 30 million additional Africans out of extreme poverty while boosting the incomes of another 68 million. But an increase of intra-African trade from the current pretty low, countries tend to do more of bilateral trade, to somewhere between 52 to 109% through the elimination of tariffs and reducing non-tariff barriers, I think could be a real incentive. So maybe the tariffs were the fire that we were waiting for, to get things started. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. So as you know, in Latin America and the Caribbean, we don't have a LAC union, Latin American Union. We don't have yet a LAC stack, let's say. But I think that in this comparison of Africa and LAC, it's interesting to understand what is Red Health and what the Red Health is been pushing and promoting in terms of cross-border use cases. So I'm going to pass it over to Paula, and she's going to explain to us what is Red Health.
Thank you for your time. Gracias por su tiempo. Thank you for the invitation. So, first, I want to start by providing some context. Digital transformation in Americas is not just about technology. It is about empowering citizens, building inclusive societies, and preserving our environment. By focusing on equity, sustainability, and emerging technologies, we can drive economic growth, social development, and regional integration to better future. This is a picture of the last meeting. What is Red GEALC in Spanish? Red Interamericana de Gobierno Digital de América Latina y Caribe. It's Inter-American Digital Government Network. The network was created in 2003. It connects digital government agencies from OAS member countries. Since 2003, the ALC network has been driving to the modernization to governments by promoting innovation and digital transformation in public administration. So our focus is to put citizens, especially vulnerable group, at the center of digital government policies. And our purpose is to work together across countries, help create better digital government policies, train public officials, and share solutions, experience, and experts, of course. Our impact include celebrating understanding government projects with the ExcelGov Awards and opening a space for interoperability, promoting public software, and growing a global network of experts. Now, the project for today is Mercosur Digital Citizen. It's an initiative that allows citizens for Mercosur countries to use their national digital identity to access public service in the other member states. Right now, Argentina, Brazil, Paraguay, Uruguay, and are part. Bolivia and Chile join soon. But of course, we recognize key challenge like cybersecurity, big data, artificial intelligence, and digital inclusion. Now, Juan Pablo will show the case demonstration between Uruguay and Brazil on digital service.
Hello, my name is Juan Pablo Garcia. I am manager of digital signature and digital identification in the government agency in Uruguay. And in the last years, with Red Hat, we have been working in integrate the digital identification Uruguay, Brazil, and Argentina, and other countries. So this is the ecosystem of the digital identification in Uruguay. Uh, this is working in the last 6 years and it's grow very fast. At the top, we have the citizen of the people, the person that they want to use digital services, public digital services in this case, but could be private digital services. It's the same. They use digital services in a browser or in a cell phone. And in the middle, we develop a software that we call uh, broker of digital identities. This software integrates some digital ID providers for this ecosystem. They are regulated and they are for this ecosystem. So when digital services integrate to the broker, they have automatically they offer to his users for option to authenticate in the digital service. In the case of Uruguay, we have four. They when a person goes to a digital services, they find this screen and they choose what this provider, digital ID provider, want to use. And the broker makes it easy for the person and for the digital service because the digital service only have to integrate to the broker and all the things are ready. And the citizen, if he have only one of these digital identity, they can use in all the whole system. Today we have more than 170 organizations integrated to the broker, and this is our ecosystem of digital identity. We have three different levels of security in the identity. The basic is a user that doesn't validate his identity. Is not very strong. No, the intermediate is a user that has validate his identity and he use user password and second factor. And the advancer is a user that have a digital signature and use the signature to authenticate. It's a very strong method to authenticate persons in a digital systems. So this is a simplify our ecosystem, the citizen, digital, the public digital services, Uruguay as a broker, and the digital providers. Talking in the other with the other countries in the Red Hat, we saw that Brazil have something equal to Uruguay. Our solution is a link to the ideas and to the needs, the recommendations. So Brazil do the same. but obviously Brazil is bigger than Uruguay, but the protocols, the data sets, the security levels are the same. So we say, okay, if we integrate the broker from Uruguay to the broker from Brazil, perhaps we can do that. Create that the people who Brazilian who want to use the digital services in Uruguay can use their digital identifications from Brazil, like happens in the real life. In the real life, Brazilian came to Uruguay with their passport or digital card identification and do services in the offices. We think that is the same, but in the digital way. So we did it. We integrate ID Uruguay with GovBR, and people from Brazil can use their digital identifications, Brazilian digital identification, to access today to 40 services in Uruguay. And this we think that is very is easy for the people and is secure for us, and I think is a natural way to use. We want to that the people use their own digital identifications of their own countries to identify in the public sector, in the private sector, and in other countries too. And Brazil has the same levels, so they call gold, silver, and bronze. And so when a Brazilian people come to these 40 digital services in Uruguay, the Uruguay chose one option more, that is Brazilian broker. So they go to Brazilian broker, authenticate in a digital ID provider in Brasilia. I came back to the digital services in Uruguay. This is in a test. In testing, we continue to do more in integrations and put Argentina. Argentina has a broker, but it's not in production, the broker of Argentina, and is not equal. Brazil and Uruguay are equal brokers, but Argentina have some difference. So the broker have to change some data or some things to be compatible with Uruguay and Brazil. And Chile, Bolivia, y Peru, Chile, Bolivia, y Paraguay doesn't have brokers, but they have a cuenta única, like Dominicana, for example. So we put the cuenta única as a new ID provider in Uruguay in testing. So as a conclusion, we are sure that the broker is a key key software for the Latin American and Caribbean integration of digital identities. I think that if each country have a broker that have the same standards and the same protocols, it will be very easy to integrate and to have an impact in the persons and the enterprises. When I talk in the standards, we are talking about three things. One is the protocols, all using the same protocols. Two is the data sets, how data we manage for each people or for each person in their identifications. And the third is the security levels. What are you saying? What you say? Okay, this is basic. This is intermediate, and this is advanced. We have to define together what is basic, what is intermediate, and what is advanced, because it will be the trust in between countries for the others' identifications. And then, as a broker, as a facility, these things, we think that in the future, today and yesterday, we have been talking about the verified credentials, and we think that the broker could be another place to put a verified credential. Verified credential could act as a new IDP identity provider in a broker environment. People can use their verified credentials in cell phone to authenticate in a service, digital service in another country, if the broker permits. So we are sure that the brokers could be the layer for interoperability of the digital identities in América Latina and el Caribe. In the next years, I think in 1 year or 1 year and a half, perhaps we have several countries with brokers working in integration and, and, and several people that use their natural digital identification in his country to enter to the digital service in another country. But in this case, we have to start to talk about governance because we need, perhaps we want to need to create a hub of brokers, and each country, each broker integrate with the hub and easily to resolve all the integration. So it's important to start to talk about the governance in the future. But this is a presentation. We want action, so we are going to show how it works in the real life. Who knows what is this? Mate. Okay, mate is a very special product or things in Uruguay, in Argentina, in Paraguay, and in the south of Brazil. If you know an Uruguayan or Argentinian, perhaps you see the person all the day with the mate in the hands and drinking mate all the time. Well, for us, it's a very important thing in our culture and incredible. Uruguay yerba mate it produces not in Uruguay because of the climate is very in winter is very cold, so the yerba mate is not possible to produce in Uruguay. So se produce the yerba mate produced in Brazil, in Paraguay, in the north of Argentina. So there is a lot of transportation the yerba from another country to Brazil, and the Minister of Health in Uruguay have a services digital service to get a certification that authorize to transportar yerba mate from Brazil, for example, to Uruguay. This is a case when we want to show now. We need a Luciana. We want to be her digital identification in Brazil to enter this service in Uruguay and to start the solicitation of the certification. She's gonna go to in this browser to the digital to the public health ministry portal, look for the service, goes to ID Uruguay, choose the Brazil option, goes to Brazil, choose her identity provider in Brazil, authenticate in Brazil, and come back as a Luciana to Uruguay to do the digital service. So this is the of wait, a real demo. There is, but it works very well. Okay, this is the service that is in the portal of the health ministry in Uruguay, and she's gonna enter as a Brazilian with her digital identity from Brazil.
That's the hardest part. No.
This today we have this some test, and this is it Karanja start a new procedure, and this is Luciana as a Brazilian in a digital service in Uruguay. We can uh, prove take another. This is the unit of the regulation of the energy and water services, and all the services are 39 services for this are available to Brazilian people. Because I think we have no time. But it's the same. He goes to Uruguay, the Uruguay to Brazil, authenticate in Brazil. I come back to Uruguay as Luciana, Brazil, the number of document and another. And at the first time, the system says, "Okay, Luciana, are you sure? Do you want to share this information to Uruguay because of the private the information?" And when he arrives to Uruguay, the broker of Uruguay uh, took her level, security level, and uh, only pass if the level is gold or is advanced, because we have the mutual recognition with Brazil or Mercosur, the digital signature, and we use this recognition to as a transitive to approve the digital identification that is based in a digital signature.
Well, when we were preparing this panel, we were like really looking forward to have a real demo. So thank you so much for making it possible, and thank you, Luciana, for being here, because we really needed a Brazilian citizen to prove that it's working. And when we were like discussing this before the event, Luciana told us like, I have the gold, like the advanced option, and we're like, this is perfect. So thank you so much to both of you and to the panel. We're running out of time, but I would love to open the floor to one question from the audience. Is there any question that you would like to ask to those like two very different regional use cases in Africa and in LAC? No? If not, I think it would be great to close this panel with maybe like some reflections on the lessons learned so far, or maybe unexpected opportunities that you've been seeing, like either like political, legal, cultural, anything that you have in mind that could be like a good opportunity to wrap up this session. And I think this is like just a co-develops message. This is something that we're really exploring, trying to foster some regional use cases. In parallel, the fact that we're like showcasing and proving that this is something that it's a reality, it's helping countries and regions to have their governance and regulation conversations. And this is something that we're really excited about. So, Robert, your 2 cents.
Uh, I think you might have heard us talking about two numbers on the AFCFTA, 54 and 55. So it's actually 55, but 54 have signed, one has not. Do you know which one it is? So one out of the 55 countries has not signed. No, South Sudan is there. Nigeria is number one on the list.
South Africa.
Eritrea.
Ah.
So it's the only country that has not signed. So they're an outlier, right? But I think the fact that 54 out of 55 have signed tells me that even at the political level, there is an incentive to get this done and to get it done now. I don't think, since I started following the AU, I don't think I have seen an agreement signed that quickly and that efficiently like the free trade area. So, and to add on to what you just said, Aura, I think regional use cases are really going to be important in terms of having several countries working on similar use cases and therefore also evangelizing DPI over time. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Juan?
Well, I think that the digital identification is the first step to access as a digital services in other countries, like in a real life, but with all the things, the good things that have the digital way. And I think that is we have to trust in the digital identification for the another country, but right now we trust in a paper identification that perhaps is more vulnerable than a digital identification based on a digital signature. So I think that it's important to work to have a lot of countries integrated that can be a very positive impact in our society, in our persons, peoples, and enterprise to facilitate the relationships. The and if we put the digital identification near the digital signature, we can close all the circuit. uh, Obviously is we need to improve another thing like data or like uh, power DPI, but I think the digital identification is one of the pillars of this of these things and could be a very important impact in the region.
Well, please help me with a big round of applause. Thank you to all of you. And please enjoy your workshops. We have 2 workshops in parallel, so hope to see you there.